That's pretty good. You're either aware of the programming or you've been programmed. And I do have a lot of fun with this kind of stuff. Um, it's one of the reasons, particularly if you're in a male avatar, if you're a male with a soul integrated with living spirit that is in living water worlds, which is living light with all the elementals, right? Um, then you know how to never forget who you are, which means um, I've mentioned this before. If you want to shut the door behind you so that you realize that you're forever, which means you're not ever going to forget who you are, now you're into no memory. Okay. So when you're a monopole, and I'm a monopole, that's one. That's a single pole. Monatomic gold, superconductor, hyperspeed, right? So you realize that you're experiencing an infinite love vibration. Okay. When you never ever want to be separated from the flower side of a girl's womb, if you will, the birth canal, the birth giver of creation, because life comes out of her, right? So you're the father and the mother as one. That's what it means. It means the same eternal unconditional love that a father experiences is the same eternal unconditional love the mother experiences. That means that you're not experiencing anything less than what an eternal love vibration is. So there isn't any time. There's only what love is, because that's what you are. That means you're never going to lose what it is that you know that you are, which is what love is. Now, when you know that at 4 years of age, you can imagine what it's like trying to navigate through a field of so many other beings that you become associated with that are programmed. That's right. Absolutely. I call them self-suicide programs, because all you, and this gets into a lot of other stuff that I've described in the past about, like, I'll just take one example, and I've used this before. Big Pharma. That's all AI drugs. It's all binary codes. So you know the difference between trinary and binary. And trinary is called the Trinity, which is a hub server. Hub server, spoked wheels, spoked wheel on a wagon wheel. Put it on the horizontal, what do you got? A galaxy. Right? So now we're back to neurons and all the rest of that. But when I have a full phosphorus ignition, that means that all the phosphorus, that's an enormous amount of heat. That's a lot of thermal stuff going off, right? Just like a spark plug, ignition point, flash drive. So when all the phosphorus, by the way, pistachios have phosphorus in them. I'm sure it's like you're an intelligent being, which means the elements can communicate with you to let you know what you're deficient of, right? So in other words, I'm not always eating the same thing. I'm eating what I'm supposed to be putting into my body, because you need the elements, the elementals, the living spirit that are conscious, right? So that's basic stuff. You realize you live in an intelligent universe. So you realize that love is taking care of you, because that's what you are. So all the little elementals know your spirit, know your soul, because your soul is running the avatar. Absolutely. And I knew that as a child. They're not going to take over this vehicle. There ain't no way in hell. There's way too much fire. Now you're into you. They can't put your fire out. Can't put your spark out. Right? And that's what they try and do. This is pretty simple stuff in spiritual warfare. They want to break your heart in two. You've seen the little logo or image of a heart cracked in two. Break your heart. Separate the mother arc of a proton from an electron. Okay. Because when the electron and the proton are in balance with a neutron, that opens up a gate. So an atom spheres, atmospheres, right? Vapor, water, air, are all in balance, and your water worlds are in balance, which is an equilibrium state. So that means that you're managing your calculator, which means you're managing your energy field, which is your shield, to protect what it is that you know that you are when you're in an environment in which they're trying to kill everything off, if you will, into a Death Star instead of a living star. right? So you know what a black hole is and what a 55 harmonic is, right? So now you're mapping the terrain, which is essentially mapping the planetary system between negative / positive polarities, right? Which is two, if you will, minus / plus, one polarity and the other polarity. One is going one way and one is going the other way. So you know what a binary system is. That's why everything is divided. So that's why a monopole is a polarity integrator to pull it all in as one, because there isn't any separation from the one. Right? So that would, if you will, HU1, harmonic universe 1, the primal sound field. So you know why sound travels through water, least electrical density to spread more light. Now you're in metabolites, electrolytes, and all the rest of it to be in balance. But when you're in zero, there's no charge. No charge. See? Big difference. It means you represent eternity because your consciousness is eternal light, which is eternal love. So that's... And that's when you get into the vacuum gauge. Right? Cold, heat, fusion, and fission. Fissionable materials, fusion, cold, and hot. Because certainly, if you've not experienced this before, go to a market if they have it available and go get yourself some dry ice. Put your finger on that. I'll tell you one thing I've experienced before, and that is because I worked in wildland and structural. I worked in most every phase of public service in terms of protecting lives and property and doing what they call triage. So if you want to think of it in terms of a star system or a galaxy, it's triaging a galaxy. You know what triage is? Triage, tri-age, AG, agriculture, numbers games. So it's like a triage, like a hospital zone, a trauma zone, right? It's a trauma zone, trauma-based mind control, right? Obey your master, programmer, right? So you know what a slave drive is and a master drive is, right? So you know a magnet is a drive motor, spinning a lot of data, spinning a lot of visual information that you're experiencing. So those are all the programming codes that you're experiencing that you're holding in memory, which is RAM, which is read active memory. So as I've mentioned many times before, you're running a circulation disk, which is blood that circulates through the body between every time you take a breath. Aloha. Right? So the idea is to maintain the speed of your magnet. So you want to be on fire, right? So you're running a hot mirror between the sun and your mirror. That's why when I go out in the sun now, because this is just another measurement, I can't be out in direct sunlight between my mirror, right, and the sun's mirror for now. Sometimes it depends on where I'm at between the mainland, but certainly over on this rock. I think that I got burned within about 15 minutes about a month ago down at Lapahoihoi. That didn't take long at all, did it? And that's why the first time I began noticing the difference, because you're measuring it, right? You're observing yourself, as above, so below. Observing the observed. I'm observing myself, experiencing what I'm experiencing in the mirror. So I looked up at the sun, and there are ways in which if you've ever learned how to do this, you can tweak your eye, so that you see things that you wouldn't ordinarily see through your eye in another way. It's sort of like you change the lens factor in your eyes, which is the iridology, which is your soul. So I could see Eve. I saw Eve. Eve, the mother of Gaia. Okay. Adam and Eve. When I was in Hilo, about a year and 5 months ago, September of 2021. So when I went out to Hilo Bay, which is on the Big Island, and I looked up when I saw her. But on that particular day, the whole left side of my face, I had a 2nd-degree burn. And I wasn't even out in the sun. I thought, my God, I did that in 30 minutes? But law of attraction. So your magnet's pulling that from the other magnet. Woo. See? So now you get into how far away it actually is. Time dilation, right? Between experiencing the result in the mirror. How fast are you learning? I learned pretty fast from that. Right? So now I'm not spending as much time out in the sun. Obviously. But it depends on where you're at. When I'm over on the mainland in certain places, between Montana, Oregon, Idaho, Washington, and California, it depends on where you're at. Because there's a lot of other folks that are here. Ships. Just like the other day, there were a lot of ships around here, right above my head. I'm giving them love to all of them. Right? And just like the day when, actually it was in the evening when you could see on the NASA cam or the Keck camera up above us on Mauna Kea, big, huge light in the middle of the night, like huge plasma wave. And so it was at the time that was occurring, I was experiencing where I'm at right now, my face getting hot, like it was burning up, hot particles of energy. Right? So you're experiencing the result of what others do with their energy by virtue of them being here with their ships. Right? So that was actually one of the things that I realized when I was a teenager, that their ships run on our energy. They do. When you're eternity, you know they run on your energy. Because their ships don't predate us. Okay. Love came first. As a single pole. That's called the law of one. So the law of one is in here. That's the highest law there is. That's the law of spheres, which is center point of balance in water worlds. Without that water, boy, you'd burn the whole place up. You wouldn't be able to experience a universe that's in love with itself without water. So I used to have fun with trying to, it's not a game, but when you realize you're a student and a teacher at the same time, there's some things that you're willing to experience in order to not only show somebody else how unconditional love works, because now they're going to experience how it works in their mirror through you, which is your mirror, which is your drive, which is your magnet. Now we're back into how fast they're learning in their mirror through another mirror. So I used to play around, particularly when you consider the higher octave side of the female side, if you will, the flower. So there's a big flower, pink rose, that lives in my heart, right? So a couple of days ago when I went out and I was pushing pink with the sun, and the sun was reflecting back the expanding pink in most of the sky towards the big island here, right? Then when I close my eyes, I see a big, huge emerald disc. And in the center of that emerald disc is like an azure blue. And in the center of that blue is gold, like a single little gold circle, smaller. So it's like, start with gold, it's really in the center, like monatomic gold. Then it's like a lighter sort of azure, steely blue that's within is a circle, which is emerald. That's what I see when I close my eyes after I've done that with the sun to push pink. Then I close my eyes and then I see it. Right? So I figure you probably know what that means, right? So this is why higher units of energy, people who have, if you want to think of it as an operating system, software that you run, just like planetary software, DNA is an antenna, you're running a supercomputer based on codes, which are programming instruction sets held within the chromosomes that are in pairs, right? So now you get into how codes fire and all that, and I covered that, but I used to have fun, and I allowed myself for about a year out of my life, a couple of years ago, when I had a phosphorus ignition, of allowing myself to have relationships with other females that were using their energy to protect themselves, which is the self side, which is the male side, if you will, which is the electron side, if you will, of using their electrons to protect their magnetic flower. So their flower is not in full bloom. They're protecting themselves because they acknowledge they're in a predatory environment, right? So you know that when you're in Eden, a girl can allow her flower to be in full bloom because she's aware of the fact that wherever she goes as a flower, she's experiencing what love is, which is what she is. So when you think of the seed side, of a father's side, is experiencing the same eternal love that the father has for the flower. So the flower and the father become one. That's a monopole. That's what I am. Okay, so that makes it simple to translate, but not simple to translate when you're 4 years of age and you know that and you're on a spiritual battlefield. So you're protecting your shield, which is protecting your identity, which is what love is. So you already know what you know that you are. So the forever side of this, of never losing what it is that you're aware of, which is what love is, goes on forever, is your willingness to serve forever, which means you're using your energy. You've chosen to use your energy forever on behalf of the all creation. So you don't make any distinctions of what you're giving love to, whether it's the smallest microcosm of a single cell and something that you can't see, to something that's big like a 500-foot tree. They're all getting love equally, which is an equilibrium state, which is the center point of a sphere, which is the law of spheres, which is the law of one, which is the monopole. So you are what love is. That's your identity. That's my energy identity. That's my core vibration. That represents my identity, who I am in energy. What are you in energy? Well, if you'd asked me when I was about 11 years old, I said I'm a love energy being. I'm a living spirit. A living spirit. Bring the spirit out. Dance with the music. So you know you're a musician first. That's why I took the drums. Beat the drum. Dance to the beat of the drum. See, right now you can't see it, but both my feet are going. So I love to use both my feet and both my hands and all my fingers. Everything I have available to me to move and go with the flow of energy that loves to flow. So you know that you can tune in to all the energies that are flowing, which means you know how to tune into all the stars naturally because you're a musician. Now, I know they use words like ascended masters, but you have become a master tuner, which is tuning frequencies. Right? And so, beautiful stuff. Right? That's why I put up so many videos last night on my YouTube channel because see, for me, when they talk about, well, it's New Year's Day or it's January 1st, it's just another solar day, a sphere of light day. So I celebrate the energy that the sun gives us every single day. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for your love. I love you too. Okay. So I put a lot of tribal music. I put music up from all over the world that represents those that love to dance in spirit. Right? And it heals you. So one of the ways that I've tried to describe this, because it's true, is like, for example, the one that I just put up with that was a duet. There was a male and a female. One guy was playing the guitar. Another girl had some mariachis. Love tambourines. Anything that creates a sound which you can dance in spirit. Right? That's your spirit. So they want to break your spirit, which is to break your heart in two. Right? Sever the proton from the electron. Collapse the atom spheres. Slow your bioplasma down. And what happens then? Clots. Right? Yep. So you want to be running high-speed molten voltage. Higher vibration, higher frequencies, more powerful radio set. Right? So you know the quartz crystals, you're made of the same stuff that everything else is made of, right? So you go down on any beach, little tiny crystals, quartz receivers, transmitters, neurotransmitters, Neuroions, the ions. That's why they need an ionosphere to communicate, right? Ion spheres, atmospheric, density altitude consciousness, stick and rudder, vertical and horizontal stabilizers. That's a gyrodome. That's a compass. No broken arrows, right? So, yeah, the drive motor, a magnetic drive motor. How fast is that drive motor? Right? That's your circulation disk of what you're holding in codes. You want to reprogram a completely different reality and experience Eden? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, now your creative mind is lit on fire. Let's go create it, girl. Right? So you're on fire. That's right. You're on fire. There's only one thing I know that's the most effective cooling agent to cool down that blast furnace. Okay? And that is water worlds. Right? Thermal gradients. Hot and cold. Lukewarm. That's why the water down the road here, you jump into it, you don't have to get used to it. It's just heaven. My point is like heaven. It's a very powerful energies in that salt water. Very powerful energies in that salt water. I call it getting cleaned up. It's like a recharge, like charging your cell phone, cells, living consciousness cells, right? Getting cleaned up. I call them getting rid of goo codes. Goo. It's funny how all this comes full circle. Uh, Even as children, when I was a child, we used to call it getting goo on us. It's like, get the goo off us, man. The goo codes. Bad codes, man. Parasitic codes. AI codes. Right? Archon codes. So you know the difference in codes because you're experiencing the codes, right? Wrong codes, just like a combination lock, the numbers, hey, opens up the lock, hey, right? Cages, locked in cages, leashes and collars, holding energy captive. That's a no-no, right? That's a parasite that does that because it means it's not very powerful. It's aimed to suck energy out of others. So now we're back to magnets and mirrors. How fast are we learning? Have a great day. It's a beautiful day. The sun's out. See? Powerful energies on this island. You'd be surprised the kind of magic you can do on this rock.